So, picture this, I'm a 27-year-old guy, and my sister, she's 25, is getting married. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm happy for her. It's a big deal, and I get it. But this is where things took a turn. It all started one evening when she called me up. I'd just finished work, I was tired, and was looking forward to some peace and quiet. Then, my phone buzzes. It's her. And that's when I should have known something was off. I pick up. Hey, I need a favor. I'm thinking, sure, she needs me to help with something wedding related, no biggie. But nope. Not this time. Her voice sounded almost too casual, like she was trying to cover up something. So, you know how I've been planning my honeymoon, right? Well, things aren't going exactly as planned, and I need some help with funding. I'm a little confused. Funding? I repeat, just to make sure I'm hearing her right. Yeah. It's a little more expensive than we expected. We're talking a dream honeymoon, the kind people only see on Instagram. You know what I mean, she says, kind of excited, like she's telling me about a vacation of a lifetime. And then, she says it. The thing that hit me like a ton of bricks. I was thinking, if you sold your car, that could cover the rest of it. I blinked. Twice. Sold my car? The one I worked hard to buy? The one I'd been saving for years to upgrade? I could feel my blood pressure creeping up. Wait, what? You want me to sell my car to fund your honeymoon? She doesn't even hesitate. Yeah, well, you're doing well, and honestly, it's just a small price to pay for my dream vacation. Plus, it's not like you're gonna need it much once you get a new job, right? I swear, my heart stopped for a second. The nerve of her. A small price to pay for your honeymoon? I echoed, just trying to make sense of it. I couldn't believe it. My sister, who I thought would understand how hard I'd worked to get to where I was suggesting I sell my car for something so selfish. But you know what? The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. This was the final straw. I had to do something. I wasn't going to let her walk all over me like that. Not this time. So, I sat there, phone in hand, fuming. My mind raced, and the longer she kept going on about how amazing her honeymoon would be, the more I realized I had to make a point. A serious one. I told her I'd think about it, but the truth was, I already had an idea forming. A perfect idea. Later that night, I went online and started looking. Looking for the perfect car. A better car than the one I already had. Something that would make her regret even thinking she could push me around like that. I know, it sounds petty, but at that moment, it felt like my only way to stand my ground. You want me to sell my car? Fine. But what if I got something even better? Something that would show her that I'm not her wallet, and I'm definitely not her last-minute emergency fund. I spent hours that night searching for the perfect car. I scrolled through listing after listing, each one seeming better than the last. The adrenaline was pumping through my veins now, and I wasn't about to let her get away with this. She thought she could control the situation, manipulate me into doing her bidding, but not this time. I was going to flip the script, and I was going to do it in style. The tension in me was building. I was so determined, I didn't even care about the price tag anymore. It wasn't about the money. It was about principle. It was about showing her that I was more than just her backup plan. She wasn't going to get away with this. The more I thought about it, the more my mind raced. What car would be just the right amount of revenge, and I'm doing better than you thought? I needed something flashy, something she would definitely notice. Something that would hit her where it hurt. That's why I found it. The car. The one that would make her eat her words. It was perfect. I could already imagine the look on her face when she saw it. I smiled to myself, not even realizing the grin I had. I was doing it. I was about to take control of this whole situation and turn the tables in the most epic way possible. I'm not going to lie, part of me felt a rush of satisfaction. It wasn't just about the car. It was about showing my sister that I wasn't going to be treated like this. And I wasn't just going to roll over because she asked me to. But still, there was that nagging voice at the back of my mind, telling me that this could blow up in my face. What if this made things worse? What if my family found out and got involved? Would she understand what I was doing, or would this be the start of something I couldn't take back? The next step was crucial. I had to act fast, but I also had to be careful. I wasn't just going to let her walk away thinking she got what she wanted. Alright, so here's where things really start to spiral. After I found the car, I was on cloud 9. I wasn't just going to let her get away with that request. I was going to do something that would have her regretting even suggesting it. I was driving this new car. She was going to see it. She was going to realize she messed with the wrong person. But, oh, that's when reality kicked in. The first problem was the price tag. Sure, I was determined, but this wasn't some little impulsive buy. I had to figure out how to finance it. No way I was paying for this car in full with my savings. I wasn't about to make that kind of dent in my bank account. So, I got to work. I made a few calls, arranged financing, and just when I thought I had it all under control, boom, reality smacked me across the face. I got the call. It was my mom. Now, my mom's the kind of woman who will know everything. Like, no matter how hard you try to keep something under wraps, somehow, she always finds out. She's like a walking radar for family drama. So, when my phone buzzed with her name, I knew exactly where this was heading. "Hey, I just spoke with your sister," she said, her voice sounding a little too calm, like she was trying to keep it together. I immediately felt the heat creep up the back of my neck. Yeah? So, about your sister's honeymoon," she continued, "she mentioned you were going to help fund it." I had to bite my lip. My stomach was churning, and I swear, my heart skipped a beat. The way she said it made me feel like I'd been caught doing something wrong. And I hadn't even told her yet what I was actually doing. But there was no backing out now. "Well, sort of," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "But you know, I thought maybe I could help in other ways." She said, sounding suspicious. "And you also thought you'd help by selling your car to cover some of it, right?" Crap. My mom was sharp. She'd put 2 and 2 together in about 2 seconds. I stayed quiet for a second, trying to think of something smooth to say. But my mom wasn't having it. "Don't think I don't know what's going on, son," she said, her voice lowering with that "I'm not mad, I'm disappointed" tone. "Your sister's always been a little impulsive with her requests, but this isn't right." My stomach twisted. I could feel the weight of her disappointment like a heavy stone sitting in my chest. But here's the thing, she wasn't even the one who'd asked me to sell my car. She wasn't the one who'd pushed me into this corner. My sister had gone way too far, and now I was feeling the backlash from both her and my mom. I was about to try to explain my side of things, tell her I wasn't going to just hand over my car like some pawn in a game, but before I could say anything, she cut me off. "Look, I get it. You're mad. You're frustrated. But don't make things worse than they already are. You've always been the calm one, the reasonable one." I paused. "So, what? You think I should just give her what she wants?" "Not exactly," she said, with a heavy sigh. "But don't make decisions based on pride. Don't do something you'll regret." And then, just when I thought I could get away from this conversation, she dropped the bomb. "I know you're angry, but do you really think buying an even more expensive car is going to solve anything? Is it going to make her understand? Is it going to make your life better? My head was spinning. I hadn't thought about it that way. I was so focused on getting back at my sister, showing her that I wasn't going to be walked all over, that I hadn't stopped to think about the consequences. I hung up the phone, my hands shaking a little. There I was, standing in my apartment, staring at my laptop where I had the car listing open. I wanted to click buy now, but the words my mom had said kept echoing in my head. Was I really doing this for the right reasons? Was I just letting my pride get the best of me? The next morning, I couldn't even look at my phone without feeling guilty. Every time I thought about the car, it wasn't the excitement I felt the night before, it was doubt. Was this really the best move? Or was I just digging myself into a deeper hole? Then, things got even more complicated. I got a message from my sister. She was pissed. Apparently, she'd been talking to my mom about what I was planning and now wanted to talk about it. The text message wasn't just a simple "let's talk." No, it was full of passive-aggressive venom. "Mom told me what you're doing. I'm so disappointed. I thought you were better than this." Disappointed. My own sister was using that word. That same word my mom had used on me. At this point, I knew this whole thing had taken a wild turn. It wasn't just about me being mad anymore, it was turning into a family blowout, and I was right in the middle of it. The guilt was creeping in, but so was my stubbornness. Part of me still wanted to go through with the plan, just to show them I wasn't their punching bag. But was it really worth it? The more I thought about it, the more it felt like a bad idea waiting to explode in my face. Now, I was facing a dilemma that could tear everything apart. What the hell was I going to do? Alright, so here's where things get real messy. I woke up the next morning, and the weight of everything hit me all at once. The excitement about the car? Gone. Instead, I had this gnawing feeling in my stomach that just wouldn't quit. I had the whole day ahead of me to either walk this back or double down on the mess I'd created. I went through my routine, trying to keep my mind busy. Shower, coffee, the usual. But all I could think about was how to avoid my sister's wrath and, frankly, how to dig myself out of this hole. My phone was buzzing non-stop. Texts from my mom. Texts from my sister. I hadn't even opened them yet because I knew they weren't going to be good. I finally cracked open the messages around noon. My sister's texts were dripping with that same tone she used the night before, except this time, it felt even colder. "You're really going through with this, huh?" Another message came in seconds later. "Do you even care about me?" I thought family was supposed to have each other's backs. But I guess not. And there it was. The guilt trip. She knew exactly how to push my buttons. My fingers hovered over my phone, wondering if I should just respond, maybe apologize. But part of me still felt like I had every right to be pissed. She'd asked me to sell my car. She'd pushed me to that point. And now, she was playing the victim. I was sitting there, staring at my phone, when I got a call. It was from my mom again. She sounded calm, but I could tell something was off. It was like she was holding back. "Son, we need to talk," she said. Her voice was steady, but there was an underlying tension in it that made me freeze. "I know you've made your decision about the car, but there's something you need to understand. This isn't just about money or cars. It's about family, and you're not just hurting your sister, you're hurting yourself." I sighed, pinching the bridge of my nose. "I'm not hurting anyone, Mom. I'm just doing what's right for me." She didn't let me off the hook that easily. "You think it's what's right for you, but all you're doing is making everything harder. You're going to regret this, trust me." And then she hit me with the real kicker. "Your sister's been in tears all morning. She doesn't know why you're acting like this. She's hurt, and she feels like you're punishing her for something that isn't even her fault." The words hit me like a slap in the face. My stomach dropped. My sister, the person I'd been so angry with, was hurting. I'd gotten so wrapped up in my pride and my need to prove a point that I hadn't even stopped to think about her feelings. But here's the thing, I wasn't ready to admit defeat. Not yet. Not after everything. Okay, fine, I said, trying to keep my cool. But I'm not backing down. She's going to understand where I'm coming from. She won't if you keep going down this path, my mom said. You're going to lose your sister if you don't fix this. I wanted to hang up right then, but something about her words hit a nerve. I didn't want to lose her. I didn't. But what did that even mean? Was I supposed to just throw everything I'd worked for away just to make her happy? Before I could answer, my sister called. I didn't even need to look at the screen to know it was her. I hesitated, then picked up. What do you want? I tried to keep my voice neutral, but I could hear the edge in it. I want to understand why you're doing this, she said, her tone sharp but hurt. You think this is going to teach me a lesson, don't you? Well, guess what? It's not. It's just making things worse. I clenched my fist. I'm not trying to teach you a lesson. I'm just trying to live my life. You've been asking for things for so long, and I've been saying yes because I'm your brother, but this is too much. She was quiet for a moment. Then, I didn't ask for your car, okay? I never asked for it. I thought we could figure it out together. You did ask, I shot back, my voice rising. You asked me to sell my car, to give up something that I worked for so you could go on your perfect honeymoon. The silence on the other end of the line was thick. I could hear her breathing, and for a second, I thought she might hang up. But she didn't. I didn't think it would come to this, she said softly. I just wanted a perfect wedding, a perfect life. I thought you'd help me get that. But now, it feels like you're just punishing me. I rubbed my face. I was fighting this internal battle that I wasn't even sure I could win. Was she wrong? Was I wrong? I'm not punishing you, I said, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. I just wanted to stand up for myself. You've been taking advantage of me for way too long, and I can't keep letting you do that. Her voice cracked. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was taking advantage of you. That hit me harder than anything else. She sounded sincere, but that didn't change what had already happened. The damage was done, and I wasn't sure it could be undone. Look, I don't know what to say anymore, I said, exhausted. I'm not going to give in, but I'll figure something out. But I'm done being the one everyone asks for things from. I need to think about me, too. I don't want to lose you, she said, her voice small. And there it was. The words I'd been waiting for. But part of me still wasn't sure if that was enough. Now, I was left in this weird, limbo space, stuck between wanting to stand up for myself and not wanting to completely ruin my relationship with her. Okay, this is where everything comes to a head. The tension, the back and forth, the phone calls, the texts, it was all leading up to this one moment. The weekend came, and I was supposed to meet my sister and her fiancé for a pre-wedding gathering at my parents' house. You know, the kind of family get-together where everyone's pretending everything is okay, even though it's totally not. I knew it was going to be awkward, but I wasn't ready for how tense it actually felt. I wasn't even sure if I was going to go through with the whole car situation anymore. But there was still that pride, that part of me that felt like if I backed down now, I'd be admitting defeat. And I wasn't about to do that. I showed up at my parents' house early, hoping I could sneak in and have some time to think. But of course, my sister was already there, sitting in the living room like nothing had happened. She was chatting with my mom, but the second she saw me, the smile dropped from her face. Hey, I said, trying to sound casual, like nothing was wrong. But I could tell from her expression that she wasn't buying it. She didn't say anything at first, just gave me this look, the kind that was more disappointed than angry. It was the look of someone who'd been let down, and that hit me harder than any of the arguments we'd had. "So, you're still going through with it, huh?" she said finally, her voice almost a whisper. I could feel my chest tightening. I didn't want to fight. I didn't want this to be the thing that broke us apart. But here we were, standing on the edge of a cliff, and I wasn't sure if either of us was ready to step back. "Look," I said, taking a deep breath. "I've been thinking about it a lot. And I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. But I can't just let you walk all over me anymore, okay? I can't." She blinked, her eyes narrowing. "That's not what I'm doing. I've never asked you to do that." "You did," I shot back, and I could feel my anger bubbling up. "You asked me to sell my car. To give up something I worked my ass off for. You don't get to do that. Not without consequences." She looked like she'd been slapped. Her eyes went wide, and for a second, I could see the hurt in them again. I instantly regretted the harsh words, but there was no taking them back now. We were past that point. "You don't get it, do you?" she said, her voice shaking. "I never asked you for your car. I asked for your help. I wanted to make my dream honeymoon happen. And I thought you'd understand. But now I'm just the bad guy." "Great." I was starting to feel like we were talking in circles, like neither of us was hearing the other. But the truth was, we were both right and both wrong. I had every right to be frustrated. But she had every right to want her honeymoon, too. Hell, she was my sister. Of course, I wanted her to be happy. But not at the cost of my own happiness. Not at the cost of my car. "I'm not going to keep going back and forth with you," I said, my voice low. "I did what I did, and now it's done." She shook her head, and I could see that she was trying to keep it together. Her lower lip quivered. "Fine," she said, almost too quietly. "It's done. But I'm not going to forget this. Ever." I felt like I'd been hit in the gut. My sister was mad, and I couldn't blame her. I had taken the bait, and now we were both in this mess, and neither of us knew how to get out of it. "Are we good?" I asked, desperate for some kind of resolution. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked down at her hands, twisting her fingers like she was sorting through everything I'd just said. For a second, I thought she might walk out and end the conversation for good. But she didn't. "No," she said softly. "We're not good. But I'll get over it. I guess we both will." That hit me harder than anything. She wasn't angry anymore. She was just defeated. And that felt even worse than the yelling or the insults. It was like I'd torn something between us that couldn't be fixed with a simple apology. And then, just as the silence started to suffocate us, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out without thinking, and the screen lit up with a message from the dealership. The one where I'd bought the car. I froze. The message said, "Your car has been processed and is ready for pickup. Please confirm your payment method." Oh, no. Suddenly, everything felt like it was moving too fast. The weight of the decision I'd made hit me all at once, and I had this sinking feeling in my gut. What had I just done? Was this really worth it? Was this the hill I was going to die on? Before I could even think straight, my sister was standing next to me, looking at the screen. She must have seen the message pop up, and her eyes widened as she read it. "Wait," she said, voice trembling. You actually went through with it?" I didn't know how to respond. I didn't know what to say to make this situation any better, any less of a disaster. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was my mom. "Call me, now." And just like that, I knew this wasn't just about the car anymore. This was about family. And I had no idea how it was all going to play out. The phone buzzed again, and I swear, I felt like I was living in a nightmare. The more I thought about the situation, the more I realized I had no idea how I'd gotten myself so deep into this mess. And now it was too late to turn back. I stared at my phone for what felt like an eternity. My sister was standing beside me, her arms crossed, eyes hard, but I could tell she was struggling to keep it together. She was trying to process what was happening, and honestly, so was I. My mind raced, running through every possible outcome. The way things were going, though, I knew one thing: nothing was going to be the same after today. I picked up my phone and called my mom, the dread creeping up my spine as I listened to it ring. She picked up after 2 rings, and her voice immediately hit me like a ton of bricks. "Did you really buy the car?" she asked. There was no accusation in her tone, just a quiet disappointment that I could feel in my bones. I didn't know how to answer. I didn't even know what the right answer was. I opened my mouth, but all that came out was, "I don't know anymore, Mom. I don't know what I'm doing." She sighed. "You need to talk to your sister. This whole thing is bigger than the car, bigger than what anyone wants to admit. You're both so caught up in this pride thing that you're losing sight of what really matters." "I know," I muttered, rubbing my forehead. I don't know how to make it right." "Start with her," she said softly. "Because if you don't, this is only going to get worse." So there it was. I had no choice now. I had to face her. I had to fix this. I wasn't even sure if I could fix it, but I had to try. I turned to my sister. Her face was still tense, but now there was something else in her eyes. Regret, maybe? It was hard to tell, but there was a softness creeping in, a crack in the armor. I felt my heart race as I stood up, unsure of what to do next. "I'm sorry," I said, barely able to meet her eyes. "I should have never gone this far. I got carried away. And I know that doesn't fix everything, but I can't keep doing this to you." Her eyes softened a little, but she didn't immediately say anything. The silence between us felt suffocating, like we were both waiting for something to happen. She looked down at her hands, fiddling with her fingers like she didn't know what to say either. "You're right," she finally said. "I never should have asked you for that. I should have figured something else out. But it's hard, you know? I was stressed about the wedding and the honeymoon. I thought I could just, I don't know, get everything I wanted with just a little help. I didn't think about how that would affect you." I let out a deep breath, feeling the tension leave my body just a little. She was admitting that she was wrong, and that felt like a step in the right direction. "I didn't handle it well either," I said, shaking my head. "I've been too focused on proving a point, instead of just being there for you. I'm sorry for that." She finally looked up at me, her eyes tired but hopeful. "I don't want you to feel like you have to keep doing things for me. We're family. But I don't want us to keep fighting either." We stood there for a moment, both of us trying to process everything. The whole situation was a mess, no question. But for the first time in days, I felt like maybe, just maybe, we could start fixing things. Maybe it wasn't too late. My sister took a deep breath and let it out slowly. "I don't need your car. I never did." I felt a weight lift off my shoulders, and suddenly, I could breathe again. "Thank you," I said. I'm sorry for making it harder than it had to be." There was a long pause before she nodded. "Yeah, well, I'm sorry for asking you to do something so crazy in the first place." And just like that, it felt like we were back on solid ground. Not totally fixed, but getting there. The rest of the day was weirdly calm after that. We didn't talk about the car anymore. Hell, we barely talked about anything. But there was a shift, a quiet understanding between us that hadn't been there before. I'd made the decision, for better or worse. I'd gone through with buying the car to prove a point, but it wasn't just about the car anymore. It was about learning to stop running away from problems and actually deal with them head on. Looking back, I realized the car had never been the real issue. It had been about feeling taken for granted, about wanting to be seen and respected. And while I didn't think buying a flashy new car was the best way to handle it, I did learn something in the process. Sometimes, standing up for yourself means swallowing your pride and owning up to your mistakes. By the end of the night, things felt almost normal again. Almost. There was still a lot of work to be done, but I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. My sister and I weren't perfect, but we were family. And that meant we were going to be okay. I didn't know what the future held, or how things would unfold from here. But I did know one thing for sure, I wouldn't be making the same mistake again. And maybe, just maybe, neither would she.